movies for black girl nerds.
Kevin, such a pleasure to be with you. We're going to learn some more this time around about our friend 22
Mhm.
and maybe get to the root of what the earth animus comes from, huh?
Yeah, I hope so.
That's
Or
awesome.
part of the room.
With 22, she's adamant, and now we're going into the time before Soul to see where that came from and what her big problem is with planet Earth. Where does she lie on, say, like a character spectrum? She's not an antagonist per se. We like
No.
her. We still have warm feelings. Where does she lie in the scale of different type of character personalities?
Well, I think you hit on it. She's not an antagonist. She's who she is. Um, she happens to have a different point of view about things and a diametrically different point of view than Joe. You know, Joe's a soul who doesn't want to die, and she's a soul who doesn't want to live. So I, right off the bat, I thought that was a great dynamic in the early writing of the script.
I like the way that you seem to thrive within projects that examine not just characters themselves, but the voice within inside the characters. And I've you've done a pattern of films with that, with Inside Out, and now with Soul. Is that a sweet spot of storytelling and creation for you? Why do you is that your choice of niche, or did you just kind of land there?
I landed here with Pete. I started working with Pete, and so I'm sort of landing where he lands. But definitely, I feel very much in tune with that, and it's that's where I want to be storytelling wise for sure.
In an age when there's so much just color and flash and glitz to animation and style for animated films, there's something very nostalgic feeling with how these characters are drawn that kind of evokes a greater connection. Is that fair to say about the actual drawing of these characters?
Yeah, I think that's really fair, and that's you're hitting on something that Pete Docter's so great at is his love. He started writing to animators when he was like 10 years old, and he just loves the art form. He just grew up with it and always wanted to do it. And so even though he's telling very modern stories, he always honors the past, and it's just such a part of him. I don't think you're ever going to get that out of his movies. So yeah, I love that combination that he brings.
Do you remember what the first renderings you saw of 22, what they looked like? I remember seeing like maybe some early sketches, and it made me think of like a Zoloft bubble.
Yeah, we made,
Do you
yeah,
remember
we
the
some of
first
the
one?
early, yeah, some of the early things we had to, yes, I agree. um, I don't have any details. At the time when the art's being developed is really my busiest time. So as an editor on these things, so I tend to wait. I wait till the art is a little more developed before I start really paying attention, because I know it's going to be a long process.
Mhm. What is that moment when it gets your attention? Is it a combination of the art and the voice, or the tone of the film? When does the light bulb go on for you? Like, yes, I've got my hook into it now, and I get where we're trying to go.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because what we were, especially on Soul, and we do this with Pete on every movie, is we spend a lot of time in the early days just finding the tones and the rhythms, and it's not so much about details. And so that's why I say that's what I'm busy sort of working on, and the art department is following us in that sense. Pete's directing them in the direction that the movie's going. And so I guess, yeah, there is a point on every movie where that all starts coming together. And that's really nice, because it's really the first year and a half is really hard, because you're trying to find all these things, and you're trying to find the story and the character. And it's just when it starts the second year, second and a half, after 2.5 years or so, when it really just starts coming together, it gets really exciting.
Mhm.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So,
For sure, because I'm so impressed by people like you who do these creative endeavors, because my mind is not as layered. My view of the bridge is very, very different. When you think back to your young years, what were the cartoons that really made an impression upon you, that inspired you, like maybe I could do that someday, maybe I want to go into that lane?
So for me, I had a very, my animation or cartoon background is very cynical. Like I would say my biggest influences are Warner, Chuck Jones, Warner Brothers things, and Mad Magazine.
Mhm.
I started reading Mad Magazine at a young age, in the prime of Mad Magazine, and that really, I sometimes wonder about that. how young, how young I started with that, and how cynical it sort of allowed me to be.
My brother was into it too. I remember seeing the little guy with his freckles and
And
curly
Alfred E.
hair. I can't
Newman,
remember his name.
Alfred E. Newman.
That's right. Yeah, if I looked around my mom's house hard enough, I probably could still find some.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But it takes all those different personalities, because everyone can't
Wow.
be the hero in the story. Everyone can't be the villain in the story, and sometimes maybe you need that anti voice to
Oh
to
yeah.
fully flesh out the endeavor.
Uh, you're hitting on the secret of Pixar's success, as far as I'm concerned. When you look at the early movies, the people making the movie all had different ways of thinking and making movies and talking. I was just talking to Pete about this the other day, that part of the secret to his success is he's willing to bring in people who think differently than him, or approach life differently, and you get this great you just get this great synthesis of ideas.
Well, let me ask you this. So if you could go back to any Pixar, I'm putting you on the spot, and you could be the anti voice for one of the characters, is there one in particular where you think like, I would have liked to put my stamp on that, on the anti voice? For me, it's A Bug's Life. I have some very strong feelings about
Uh-huh.
bugs. I love that movie. And do you have a favorite of yours among the Pixar catalog where you would have liked to put your funk on it?
um I can't answer, I'm sorry. I'll just say probably, but I like, I'm in my world of what I do there, and I'm really happy there. So
So back to our buddy 22. So now we're going to learn a little bit again about her, and her finding her path, her life journey, her spark. Why is she not more, say, like, get off my lawn? Even despite this unyielding and unwilling desire to go to Earth, lose people to Earth, etc. There, she's still not so grouchy and so mean. It's just kind of like, I'd like to change things, but I'm not going to let it get me completely down. What is it about her that doesn't allow that light to dim?
well, I mean, she's essentially fighting the universe, and all of us know that that's a losing battle. I mean, she is smart enough to know that um, she just doesn't have she's not gonna change things really.
Mhm.
Um, so, and ultimately, we're making a movie for everyone. We're not going to go down too dark of a path, and at a certain point, that doesn't become as entertaining as maybe the things we do. So,
And well, then that makes a great point for my last question. So, lastly, how dark do you think a Pixar film, like let's just say 22, got a whole film of her own, where we go back to when she was a little bitty tiny soul growing up into a woman's soul as we meet her in the current incarnation? Could Pixar ever do a darker anti-hero lead type of story?
oh, I guess potentially, but I don't think so. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to see a too dark of 20, and I'll go dark when I need to. The movies, some movies I like, but I think for us, I think we find that nice balance of raising the questions and not sugarcoating it too much, and introducing these ideas. But ultimately, we're making entertainment, and we want people to laugh. So
We'll leave that to the other people under
yeah.
the umbrella with you guys, the ones that start with M. We'll leave that to them. Well, I thank you so much for your time, Kevin. This is
Thank
such
you.
a sweet film, and I'm so intrigued by people who do what you do. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.